Well, hey, folks, I am wearing a T-shirt today, but it is on brand instead of the normal polo or button-down shirt. And what a exciting day to conclude Game 1 for every team participating in the 2026 FIFA World Cup. We got some great recaps on the horizon for you. We've got one of my favorite colleagues from Colombia joining us to recap that action. And then we get to preview tomorrow's matches as we get into day 2 and Game 2 in the commencement and continuation of group play. Welcome to everyone watching or listening around the world. I'm Spencer Thompson alongside Drew Williamson and special guest Connie, as she's known among everybody. So not even going to bother with the last names on it, because if we said any of those, no one would know who I'm talking about. But proud to be with each and every one of you in different parts of the world. Drew, I know we were talking about this a little bit beforehand, but my goodness, what a day in the FIFA World Cup. After we were treated to two great days with the superstars coming out. Well, I'll say one because we had the draw disappointments that were leading up to it. But what a day in the World Cup, and what a way to conclude Game 1 for the final 8 nations that had to start their World Cup campaigns this year.
Oh my gosh, for sure. It was a bit of a surprising day. A lot of results that maybe I didn't expect, a lot of score lines that I didn't believe would happen. But that's the beauty of this tournament. It's so full of surprises, and we've seen an unbelievable amount of those in just the first round of group play. So just so much more excitement to look forward to, and happy round 2 starts tomorrow. We made it through round 1. Now we get to cover round 2.
Let's get right into it then. We've got, normally, as you folks know who've been listening or watching the podcast, we start with the first match of the day and go forward, but we don't want to keep Coney waiting around for too long, especially when being mindful of time zones. I have a little bit of a luxury being on the West Coast right now. Give me a couple days, and then you'll start seeing me be a little more tired as I head back out east. But we're going to do Uzbekistan, Colombia, 3-1. This match was 1-0 heading into the half, an equalizer within the first 15 minutes going into the second half, and then it was all Colombia going forward. Well, first off, Connie, great to see you. I know we've been messaging a little bit over the months since we were down in Chile for the Under-20 Men's World Cup, but this is the way that you would want to start the World Cup if your team Colombia. From your perspective, how do you think this match concluded the way it did?
Hi, Spencer and Drew. It's a pleasure for me to be here. A little bit late, like you said, but there is not a big deal when we are talking about winning for Colombia. Actually, yes, before starting the World Cup, most of the people in Colombia were thinking, okay, we must beat Uzbekistan. We don't want to say that it's a small team, because at the end, if they are in the World Cup, is because they have something to show. But of course, in terms of the football and the experience, we supposed to win today. But since we have seen these small teams doing so great in the first matches, at some point we were a little bit, nervous about the match today. But of course, the winning 3-1 is like something very special. Even though we know that Colombia didn't play as the full as we wanted to see the team, there are so many things to correct for the following matches. But winning is a winning, and we are happy.
I
I
agree.
got to tell you, Drew, especially with now, it doesn't surprise me that it was a sea of yellow Colombia jerseys among the almost 81,000 who are in attendance in Mexico City Stadium. But I think what surprised me even more about this one was James Rodriguez, in the fact that he didn't really produce anything on the pitch today and got substituted in the 72nd minute, especially with all the hype surrounding him as this star captain for Colombia, and that he was going to be the one making a big difference for him. And he didn't really do that much in this opening matchup. And because of that, that's why he got substituted, and there was a captain swap in the 72nd minute.
Yeah, I think that James Rodriguez is a Colombian legend, and he always, he has been for a long time now. Like we talked about, I think last episode, he was the Golden Boot winner in the 2014 World Cup. So his prime is probably a bit past him. He's age 34 now, but he still can provide for this Colombia team. I know that he didn't have the best of games in the first opening match. That's why he got subbed off, but I still think he can produce him. But Colombia has so much more talent than just James Rodriguez. They have Luis Diaz, all these players that can, they can do great things. And I think that, Connie, you made a great point earlier talking about we've seen the smaller nations in this tournament so far make the biggest differences when we didn't expect them to. I think Spain, Cabo Verde kind of struck fear into a lot of these top teams, and Colombia is a team that is expected to make a pretty decent run in this tournament. And I think the way they came out, a little bit of a scare from Uzbekistan, for sure. However, Colombia getting that third goal, really putting the pressure on them. And yeah, great opening win, especially taking the top place in the group after Portugal and DR Congo drew.
Yes, that's true. Because actually, when you are a small country, when you are facing a World Cup, you want to show the best of your football. So we cannot expect any team to go on the pitch and say, "Oh, okay, now this is only for fun, and we are just gonna be here for like not showing the best." Actually, everyone wants to win. you, I mean, we could see that in Uzbekistan. They were like pressing and pressing. They were marking very good at the end of the match, taking control from time to time from the possession of the ball at some points were so high for them. So we cannot expect any team just to go and stand up and doing really no much. So at the end of the day, I think we need to be careful about these small teams, because they can be very dangerous, as all these other big team has faced, from Cabo Verde, like you said. Congo at the end was quite good. Curacao, even they were went with 7 goals against, but they scored one. So yeah, I mean, we cannot just be so passive as Colombia show on the match from some minutes, and that is was, I mean, maybe the reason why we got this goal. And also at the end, the last almost 10 minutes, very complicated. We have this end match very stressful for the fans.
And
For sure. I do
yeah,
want to
you're
mention that on that last goal, the third goal Colombia scored, that was one of the assists of the tournament so far.
yeah.
Chucho
Yeah,
Hernandez, that was
totally.
an unbelievable cross to get that
Yes,
third goal. I
yes,
had to put that out
totally.
there.
These two guys are the new on the team. Hernandez, we call him the El Cucho Hernandez, and Campas. They were substitution on the second half, and they did a very great, really, really great match. Campas was absolutely amazing, and when you don't give a ball, lost ball, you can do so many good things. And this guy was absolutely amazing. He centered the ball absolutely in a magic way.
I we talked about this in the last episode, and we try not to harp too much on the third team that was on the field, but this was a officiating crew, a referee crew that was based out of England. Anthony Taylor leading the crew. He was not messing around. A yellow card given to Johan Mojica in the 7th minute of this competition, and then after that, at the 34th minute, it was Kushanov of Uzbekistan. So very much a setting the tone early on of you're not going to get away with really that much here, even if it's on the biggest stage. And beyond that, I mean, Colombia just seemed like they were a team that was ready to play. I mean, 60% of the time they possessed the ball. They had 15 attempts on goal to Uzbekistan's 8. 4 of Colombia's attempts were on target compared to the 2 for the opposition. I mean, the corners were about even 4-3 in favor of Colombia. And what shocked me even more is that Colombia had the same number of goals as they were called offsides, with 3 times that they were called in the offside possession there. And Uzbekistan was not offside once. Like, they kept it very clean on that side. They were very much beyond the back defender. And it's what I remember is, especially in we still have the young reporters chat going from Chile, and our shout out to our good friend Alejandro from Cuba. The moment Colombia scored the first goal, message comes up. He goes, Danny. How about that goal by Daniel Munoz just in the 41st minute to set the tone here for Colombia? I mean, yes, we mentioned how Uzbekistan managed to come out 15 minutes after the halftime break and try and find the equalizer and get things going, but man, this is just one of those matches that if you enjoy the beautiful game, it was a good match. It started to get a little out of hand towards the end in favor of Colombia, but still, when you think about it, we've been mentioning it the whole time about goal differential in this third place qualifying of 8 out of the 12 teams, but put all of that aside. How about the statement in 90 plus 9 minutes on that final goal by Colombia to say, all right, we're here to stay, and we're not going to make it as we escaped from Uzbekistan. We managed to dominate in 90, almost 100 minutes of play on the pitch. That was incredible.
It was absolutely incredible, especially because, like we were saying before, those last 10 minutes were really complicated for Colombia. It was like they were so passive. They were thinking, okay, we are just winning, or this is going to finish very soon. I was not expecting 8 minutes at a time as well. It was quite a lot, but at some point, when you see that the team, like, losing control, is absolutely stressful when you are watching the match on TV. And then when I remember, I was just like thinking, okay, we just need to control the ball. We just need to get out of our side. But it was not possible. It was like they were trying and trying so many times that it could be possible. It was like a bar. This guy from Uzbekistan just shot the ball and it was like on the bar. I was like, oh my God, 5 more minutes and maybe we were not talking in the same way right now. So at that time, I was not expecting a goal, in the 98th minute, because at the end we played like 100 minutes, but 98 minutes of the match, and then we were celebrating a really nice goal, even though the first one, it was actually as well so good, with just with the finger, actually was really, really amazing. But yeah, those last minutes were really, really stressful, like I said before, but Colombia was losing control. And this is one of the things that actually we need to correct for the next matches.
Yeah, and Drew, just to Azizbek Amanov was the one who made that long range strike. If it just goes a slight amount down from the crossbar, then yes, I don't think Uzbekistan at that point would have come back and found an equalizer because of how much limited time was in stoppage time. But that makes them just at a -1 goal differential heading into the rest of group play. Not only does that tell me that Connie, as you mentioned, that Colombia has some stuff to clean up, but it also tells me that the rest of these teams here, as we get into the rest of play in Group K, Portugal and the Congo DR, they need to be careful about how they come out against Uzbekistan and the rest of Group play.
Yeah, especially Portugal. Going off both of y'all's points, that strike from Uzbekistan when it was, the 99th or 100th minute was incredible. And like we said, like a few inches down, and that is an absolute screamer of a goal that probably is goal of the tournament so far. However, going back to your point, Connie, I completely agree. Stoppage time is like sudden death. It's just so nerve-wracking because teams that are trailing start to play a lot more desperate. They start to bring more people forward, and give credit to Colombia for knowing that and being prepared, and it did get a little bit nerve-wracking there at the very end of the game, but they were able to remain calm, remain balanced, realize again who they are. Colombia is a great team. They're expected to go far in this tournament, and it was so important for them to hold on to this game because I thought when it was 1-1, it had the potential to end as a draw, and Colombia proved us wrong.
Yes, we expect really a lot, especially when you have so many players that are in the big leagues around the world. You cannot just expect less from your team. It's a little bit complicated as well because we say, okay, we have so many good players in the best teams in the football, but also when you don't play together, it can be dodgy, the situation when you get together, you need to start kind of learning again from each other how to play on the field. But still, it's for us in the continent, we are we believe that Colombia is a strong team, so we cannot expect less. We have had like really complicated in the last 8 years that we have out of the World Cup. So this time is it must be the time for Colombia. Don't I cannot say something different. We were talking before James Rodriguez, and I must say that yes, that we were expecting a little bit more. We know that he has not the best on his capacities, that he was not playing so much in the last 6 months, 8 months. He was not taking so much competition. But we also said here in Colombia that when James Rodriguez wears this yellow t-shirt, he can give his 100% even in one leg. It's kind of the way how we say it here. But today, I think because the team was a little bit passive from some moments in the match, he was not having the best support from the rest of the team. So if they can correct that, I'm pretty sure that he's gonna make a really good tournament in the next matches.
Yeah, Drew, remember what I said yesterday about Rodriguez? He's the heart of the team and probably one of the best players in this team. But I also said that Luis Diaz likely is the most talented player on this roster in the World Cup. And lo and behold, an assist in the first half and
Uh-huh.
a goal in the second half. So it's nice to be right sometimes, right?
Yeah, and if you can see, in your stats over there, because I don't have them here, but all the fouls that he got, they were like 8 during the match, something like that. I cannot remember exactly the numbers, but he has that power on the field that everyone wants to stop him because of the way that he moves the ball. So the only way how you can stop him is by foul. And at the end of the day, there were so many. I think he has to have a very good recovery, and the physio will have a hard work just to recover him in these days because for sure he got like so many uh, punches, well, not punches, but footing kicks and all that. So I know it's gonna be hard, but he's one of the best. If not in the top 5 in the world at this time, so we can rely on him, and for sure he's gonna get a really, really great tournament.
Yeah, he played 97 minutes on the pitch and had fouls called in favor of him, total of 5, which was the most for Colombia in this opening match of the FIFA World Cup. And they continue their campaign in group play on the 23rd. They collide with Congo DR in Guadalajara. So Colombia staying in Mexico for their group phase competitions. Connie, good to see you.
Yeah,
Glad you
they
could
will
join us for a
stay
moment
in
on the
they will stay in Mexico. Sorry, Spencer, they will stay in Mexico, but you have to take also into account that the difference in the altitude from
yes.
Guadalajara to Ciudad de Mexico is different. They are based in Guadalajara and they were doing their training in Guadalajara. Then they flew to Ciudad de Mexico, and even though they must be used to these kind of changes, but that different on the altitude, it must be taken into account. At the end of the day, that affects, of course, to every one of the players that are on the pitch, but depending on how they were training, then it makes different. So now, tomorrow, they will fly again to Guadalajara, and at some point, I think this is a little bit also complicated because they are, flying from Bogota to United States first because they were having friendly matches, then to Mexico City to Guadalajara, I think, because I cannot remember if they arrived directly in Guadalajara, but then another travel and then another one, and then they have to fly to Miami. So I've been here. I'm not that sure, but I hear that Colombia is one of the teams that has to fly or to change venues more than any other team in the World Cup. I'm not that sure if this fact is for sure, but it's one of the teams that has to fly most or to travel more kilometers.
Yeah, they're certainly on that list. And Uzbekistan trains in Atlanta, and they had to come down there for the altitude adjustment. And the Fox Sports commentary crew mentioned that a lot throughout the match in terms of the difference in altitude and things like that. So definitely Colombia is on there on the travel side. From the stories about Iran and them having to leave immediately after the match back to their training site, they're certainly up there on that sort of travel side as well. And like you mentioned, Colombia and Congo DR will collide in Guadalajara on the 23rd, and Uzbekistan will collide with Portugal in Houston in an indoor stadium, I might add, for Group K's second games group play. But Connie, great to see you. We'll have to do this again sometime when Colombia plays next. Appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, for me, it will be a pleasure. And hopefully, Colombia is going to fix all these mistakes that they have been doing during this match. After the match, we hear the coach just talking by the national TV, and actually he was saying that we have a lot of possession of the ball, but we have to train more in the when they have the free kicks or the corner kicks, because we are missing the opportunities to control the ball on those plays. So hopefully it's going to be another win for our next match against DR Congo. And then we are going to face the Cristiano Ronaldo team, which is going to be really interesting for us. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure for me to be here, and I will see you next match.
And as long as Colombia is not playing against one of the other nations any of us young reporters are from, we're all for you and Valentina, all right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, next match for Spain and Saudi Arabia. Yes, yeah. I think we are going to have a fight.
I'm in that stadium too, and I have told both Rowan and Isma that I'm rooting for them both equally. If it's a draw, that's perfect for me. As long as it's a draw, then we're good.
Anyway, thank you very much. And I take the opportunity to say hi to all these young reporters that I know they are going to be watching this, and have an excellent night. And I wish you the best covering all this FIFA World Cup.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
All right, Drew, let's get into the rest of this action for the FIFA World Cup on the final day of group play. And it starts out with Ghana and, to quote my colleague Itzel, Panama. But we shout that, but Panama, it's more Panama, because this was the 42,942 people in attendance. This was at the Toronto Stadium up in Canada. And I cannot think of a more disappointing way to lose, unless it has something to do with the officiating, which was not the case in this competition. That there was only 3 yellow cards total given, 2 of them to Panama, 1 for Ghana. But look, here's the thing. We talked about how in Ghana's case, they did not win the AFCON Cup of Nations. They've had their struggles in international play, and they were announcing their roster last second. Panama, on the other side, they have not gotten a point in a World Cup. This is the second time that they've appeared, and it looked like in stoppage time they were going to make history and get their first ever point in a World Cup, but 34 falls to 73. Caleb Urianki, great shot from him and a great, incredible goal in 90 plus 5 minutes on that aspect. But man, I just feel for the people of Panama who've been waiting so long for this point to happen, and especially with a group against, and we're going to get into the England-Croatia match later, but the fact that you have to face off against England and Croatia in the rest of the group play, as much as I know we've had upsets in the tournament and we've had a lot of great action, I think this was the only chance for Panama to escape with any points in 2026.
Could not agree with you more there. This was a game. First of all, I want to give Ghana a lot of credit.
Yes.
They played really aggressive. They played together. They played really just, their brand, and they really were not scared or intimidated by anyone. They created probably an equal amount of chances. And great way to score in the dying embers of stoppage time to get the 1-0 win. The flip side is Ghana is one of the worst ranked teams in this entire tournament. And like we've talked about, Panama in a group with already the likes of England and Croatia, which we saw that thriller today, and both teams looked really, really good in that match. This was a game Panama desperately needed, and I don't even think desperately needed to draw. They needed to come away with 3 points in this game.
Yeah.
If they had any shot of advancing to a knockout or, things of that nature, because they're at a very uphill battle now with their next two group matches being Croatia and England. So, yeah, a little bit disappointed. And I know the entire fans, and you know them better than I do. You were talking about some of your colleagues from Panama. They're disappointed right now, and they have every right to be. They expect better from a team, like you said, 34 falling to 73. That's just not something we see every day on a soccer level.
What's even more disappointing, and another one of these, I have not listened to the press conference yet, so I'm sure this was addressed. Panama, 11 attempts on goal, Ghana 7. 4 attempts on goal on target for Panama, 2 for Ghana. 11 fouls against Panama to Ghana's 9. Both teams had the same amount of 2 corners, but Ghana was also offsides 4 times compared to Panama's 1. But here's the disappointing part, Drew. And we saw this, I forget the exact match, but we saw this earlier in one of those David versus Goliath matches in the tournament. Panama possessed the ball 62% of the time, and they could not get a goal. They could not score once throughout this competition. That is the even more disappointing part here between these two, is that there was just not they just couldn't get it done. And the only thing that you really have to show on the match event side is 2 yellow cards and 4 substitutions. That's where you get the disappointment. And again, credit to Ghana for, like we've seen with a lot of these teams that have been higher ranked, they've underestimated their opponents in their opening match for the FIFA World Cup. And that was a clear example of this, where even when you're going to stoppage time and there's this sort of thought of, you know what, if we can escape with 1 point here, okay, we've got the chance here, and just letting your guard down in a way. Because I think that's what this Panama backline did. They let their guard down to give Caleb that huge opportunity to be able to knock this one in the back of the net. And again, we mentioned it a couple of times already, but just I don't see Panama beating England. I don't see him beating Croatia. I really. Maybe I could get shocked by it. We've been shocked by stuff for the tournament, but I just, especially after this performance today, I just don't know if there's really a chance for him realistically to get it done.
No, yeah, I honestly at this point do not see them even getting a single point in this entire tournament after today. I do want to credit Ghana for knowing the game plan. I think they came in with a really good game plan. I think they knew that Panama was going to outpossess them a lot, and that was normal. But the beauty of this game is that although you can be outpossessed, it does not necessarily mean that they're going to be the better team when the 90 minutes is up. And I think Ghana realized, hey, Panama is going to outpossess us, but when we counter, we need to make the most of it. And Ghana did. And they created just about, I know it wasn't quite as many as Panama's, but they created a good number of chances and were able to find the back of the net there in that 95th minute.
Yeah, this is gut wrenching for the nation of
For sure.
Panama, especially with all the hopes and aspirations that they may have had. I don't realistically, I think if you talk with most of the people in Panama, yes, they have hope for their country. They're optimistic, but I don't think any I think maybe most of these people, most of the people, not just in the media side, but among fans of the nation, they probably expected the best part would have been that they somehow got a third place qualifier to the round of 32. Because I mean, I'm sure Itzel is going to run through my DMs after talking about this and say something about you don't even know what you're talking about, which is fine. But I don't think if anyone could tell me with how great England has been heading into this World Cup, and especially after today's match, if somebody from Panama tells me that, oh, no, Panama's going to beat England, I am going to quote from Stephen A. Smith, something is wrong with you. If anyone from Croatia, well, anyone from Panama tells me, oh, yeah, they're going to beat Croatia after that performance that was earlier today, same thing. Maybe there's a draw. Maybe somehow they get a draw against one of those teams, but that also requires their back line to be a lot stronger than they were today in those final minutes of extra time. Because it's 11 minutes total of stoppage time is one of those that you're really like, huh? Like, it normally doesn't happen like that. I know 3 of them are because of the hydration break, but still, it's very uncommon when that sort of stuff happens. But man, this is just so disappointing for Panama. This is ecstasy for Ghana. They're probably on top of the world right now. And for Ghana, probably their main strategy point here is it's okay if we lose 1-0 to both England and Croatia, or if we, draw against one of them, we have a good shot to get a third place bid heading into the round of 32.
Yeah, absolutely. I think their next step is focusing on goal difference, because that is what makes, that's what changes this. That's what, determines how likely you are to advance to the round of 32. I think, like you said, you hit it on the nail perfectly. They're going into each of these matchups with the idea of, yeah, we're very undermanned. Yes, we are, unmatched when it comes to talent of Croatia and England. But let's just not get blown out of the park. Like, let's keep it in a ballpark of 1-2. Don't let it extend, and don't let them, keep piling goals on, kind of like how Germany did Curacao. I don't think I think that's the immediate focus. And I do want to say Ghana's fan base was incredible watching this match. And after they scored that goal, I mean, just the passion they have in that country, they are flying right now. They are so happy.
The only thing I will say, Ghana, if you have any aspirations, which I'm sure you do, but if you want to beat Croatia or England or even get them with a tie, Antoine Semenyo, you got to step it up. You did not record anything meaningful in the almost 100-plus minutes that you were on the pitch in terms of the stat line. The fact that a goal came from one of your midfielders in stoppage time that really was not on the radar for most media of going to be breaking out. Same with Jordan Ayew. You got substituted out in the 87th minute as you were listed as their captain. You have 7 goals and 7 assists in the qualifiers, and you were not able to make an impact against Panama. Again, one of the teams that you had the best chance of beating, and you managed to do that. But the fact that the 2 stars were not able to get anything done, that has to change if you want any chance against England heading into the rest of group play. But credit to Ghana. They pulled off another upset among many that have happened in this tournament. And, I'm sure they're going to be riding that momentum as they go to England or face off against them in Boston. But Panama will stay in Toronto in terms of their next match against Croatia, which, oh, man, I hope Panama – maybe I'll be proven wrong. Maybe we'll both be proven wrong, Drew, and we'll be, Itzel, you'll come on the show and you'll tell us how wrong we were, and it'll be a great time. But we'll see how it goes on June 23rd for those matchups. Speaking of which, here as we get along in recapping this exciting Group L, the debut of Harry Kane did not disappoint, my friend. There was all the noise, all the talk about Harry Kane, it's time for you to step up. Cristiano Ronaldo, after the great performances we saw from Mbappe and Messi, it's time for you to step up. And oh man, it did not disappoint. 4-2, England gets the victory over Croatia in Dallas. We mentioned again it was an indoor stadium, so that probably had some sort of impact. 70,389 fans were in the stands for this one. And man, first 12 minutes, Harry Kane knocks one in the back of the net on a penalty kick. 42 minutes, 30 minutes later, the same man draws another goal in there with Declan on the assist. Now, granted, we also had Croatia was able to quickly respond. In the 36 minutes, 14 minutes after Harry Kane with the penalty kick, Martin Baturina managed to knock one in the back. And then in 50 minutes, 45 plus 5 minutes, Pitar Musa able to drain one quickly in the back of the net. If I recall correctly, that was on a header in terms of getting it in the last second. Man, going into halftime, a close matchup, and then Jude Bellingham, 2 minutes after we get out of the break, drains one back in, and then England was on their toes throughout the majority of this match and then finally got the cushion goal they wanted at the 85th minute with Marcus Rashford sending it inside. Man, England, I just hope, I love the comparison that was given on Fox Sports that was saying that England is like the Dallas Cowboys where they had one championship and that's all they talk about. Look, they have every right to talk about it after this match and the great show they gave us with England, Croatia out in Dallas, but this is one of those timeless matches, and I would argue at least in the first games of group play, one of the best.
Yeah, first and foremost, someone better check on the Croatia goalkeeper because that was an incredible. That was probably the best performance by a goalkeeper I've ever seen that still conceded 4 goals. I mean, he played unbelievable. I mean, he was under a lot of pressure for most of that match, and give credit to him. He made a lot of saves. I know he conceded 4 goals. One was a PK, which, by the way, Harry Kane took twice. He took the first one, he saved it, but the keeper just was off his line before he was supposed to. So Harry Kane got to, and that's a great thing for Harry Kane and England. I think Harry Kane needed that because his confidence might have been a little rattled had he missed that PK and had to continue. But yeah, just a great PK from Harry Kane, and then unbelievable header. Why he was open in the unmarked in the box on a corner. I mean, he's the guy for England. I cannot believe Croatia just left him unmarked, but he made him pay. Unbelievable header in the corner. And credit to Croatia for battling back and making it even by halftime. But like you said, Jude Bellingham on an unbelievable run on the right wing, sneaks one past the Croatian goalkeeper, makes it 3-2, and then like you said, Rashford, the sub, came on late and scored a 4th for England. So overall, both of these teams I was really impressed with. Yes, Croatia looked a little bit, suspect at times in the back, and I think that they're going to work on that in the future. I think they have 2 favorable matchups left in this group to work on those things, but this is a really, really, really good England team, and you can tell. And they honestly, I have a lot of friends of mine that are huge England supporters and that really want, and we were chatting, and this looked like one of the most dangerous teams in the tournament so far, and rightfully so. I mean, I know they're ranked in the top 5 for a reason, but they looked really impressive. I was really impressed with the 3 Lions.
The name Dominik Livakovich is going to be said a lot, depending on how deep this Croatian team goes, and you said it very correctly. A amazing performance by a goalkeeper, even though he conceded 4. We'll say technically he conceded 3 because one of them was a penalty kick. And again, we've had that conversation previously on the podcast, but mostly dead even on the possession side. England 52%. But again, the reason we're saying this about Livakovic, he faced 22 shots 11 of them were on target, compared to Croatia was not generating that many offensive opportunities, 10-5 on that metric. And not only that, England, this is again part of the back line not doing as well as they should have for Croatia. 8 corner kicks for England compared to Croatia's 2. So every time Croatia got 1 corner kick, England on the other side has got 4. So that is contributed to, essentially you could say that for every goal they scored, a corner was involved on one of them. So you can't concede that many opportunities or that many set pieces because you're going to stress out your goalkeeper. But Dominik Livakovich did not look stressed out that much at all. I mean, he was getting frustrated a couple of times, but he still managed to try to make himself big as much as he could. But you're right. This is a very favorable stretch for both England and Croatia on the matches they have left in group play. And again, it's FIFA knows what they're doing with the scheduling out of the big matches so that we're not having to heavy load them at the front end and have an idea of who's going to win the group. But I think this was big for England in terms of getting that number 1 spot for Group L. Because if I'm not mistaken, if they win the group, as I quickly scroll here to make sure the round of 32 is situated, if they win this group, their round of 32 match on July 1st in the heat of the summer in the United States, it's in Atlanta. So they have an indoor stadium matchup that they win, whereas the Group L runner-up, they have to play in Toronto, which, granted, that's not as bad because Toronto's a little more cooler in the summer. But if this campaign continues, let's see, Group L, if they win match 80, the winner of match 80, okay, this is where it gets difficult. So round of 32, they play indoors. But then on July 5th, the winner of that match, which if it's England, they go to Mexico City for their next match of the quarterfinal.
It's so random. That's so it's just all over the place.
Not only that, if they win from that, they would then play in Miami. So this is where the scenario is playing out. We were talking about this whole thing about England melting, quote Stu Holden on that, of England's going to melt. They would at least play a round of 32 match indoors, unless for some reason, I don't know what FIFA policy is on in terms of opening or closing the roof on a match. I know the NFL's, but I don't know about FIFA's one there. But imagine it's Atlanta, then you have the elevation of Mexico City, and then you have the blazing heat of July, middle of July in Miami for your quarterfinal, and then the semifinal. Let's see, if that's the Miami one, that's match 99. Okay, they would go back to Atlanta for a semifinal, and they'd be indoors on that. But still, it's just, for England, this would be the most incredible run if they could get it done, especially with, we mentioned about the weather acclimation and all that, the height elevation pretty much being a mile above sea level. Man, hopefully this English team does well. I mean, if they get second place, they would have Toronto. And let me make sure I got this right. If they win match 83, is that another outdoor one? They'd play in Dallas, actually. So maybe this was actually a bad thing for England in terms of the outdoor heat, because if they win, they would play in Dallas, and then after match 93, they would play in Los Angeles for a quarterfinal, which it's not as bad, but still heated out there. I know I'm going on a tangent here about the whole outdoors and indoor stuff, but it's something seriously to think about for England.
For sure.
Is like, do we want to win the group? I'm sure they do, but do we really want to have a stretch of playing in Mexico and Miami to try and win a World Cup?
I mean, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure they're. It's not a. What's the word? It's not a friendly path of location for where you're playing, especially for a team like England. But one thing I thought this coming in, I think England has so much. They're one of the teams with a lot to prove in this tournament. Everybody knows they've had talent, but they've had talent in years past. And like you mentioned earlier, getting compared to the Dallas Cowboys, is that really that good of a thing? I don't think so. Especially here recently, I think England has kind of been known as the team to have a lot of talent, but choke in big games. And, I think they're out to prove in this World Cup that we can hang with, the top dogs like France and, Argentina. And we can actually, put the narrative that we can't close in a big tournament game aside.
Regardless, England, what a show. What a great way to start out your group play as well. And honestly, same to Croatia. I get it. It's a tough loss for you, especially with all the great success you've had over the last couple of years. And this was a rematch of the semifinal in 2018 in Russia. But, it's hope in theory you've got good matchups that are favoring you. But make no mistake, both Ghana and Panama, they've got a pathway of vengeance. I say vengeance when it's acting like they're trying to get revenge. They've got a path of destruction as they try to shake things up here in Group L as England and Ghana face off in Boston on the 23rd, and Panama and Croatia will collide in Toronto. Our last match recap of the day. Drew, I don't know if I want to do this one. I don't. We're both putting our hands on our faces and just completely disappointed in this. So. Portugal, Democratic Republic of the Congo, 1-1 draw. Here's the thing. Everyone on Fox was saying this whole thing about Ronaldo. Look at what Messi has done. Look at what Mbappe has done earlier today. It's your turn. It's your move. This is now Ronaldo has been held scoreless in World Cup action for the last 5 games for Portugal. His last goal came in the group stage versus Ghana in 2022. And that trend continues today as Joao Neves scored in the 6th minute. The equalizer for Congo was found in stoppage time in the first half. 5 minutes past that, to be exact, by Yohan Wissa. And from there, it was substitutions, and it was 2 yellow cards given to Portugal. And there was one that was given to Congo DR in the 32nd minute of the first half. But Portugal controlled the ball 75% of the time in this game, Drew. 75%. And they were only able to generate 7 attempts on goal, 1 on target. Now, Congo wasn't that much better either. 8 attempts on goal, 2 of them on target. Corners even 5-4 in favor of Portugal, and around the same number of 10-9 for direct free kicks. This is, look, I just have so much, not unbridled rage, but I just have so much disappointment in Cristiano Ronaldo, especially for what a lot of people have made out to be his final World Cup in his career. And it's not dismissing what he's done at the club level. It's not dismissing what he's done in the UEFA Champions League and the other stuff that he's had great. I mean, El Clasico when it was Messi versus Ronaldo and the great wars they had back in the day. But we want Messi, Ronaldo in the elimination round for the final match, and you're not going to do that tying against Congo DR. You're just not.
There's just so much I could say. I'll start with this. Ronaldo has always been my favorite soccer player ever since I was very little, and he is the main reason that I got into soccer and that I've loved soccer for the longest time. Seeing today's match really, really hurt. Like, it really, truly hurt me because I'm not putting the blame on I'll get to how Portugal played in a second because it was really disappointing to me how they played. But as far as Ronaldo himself, obviously it hurts seeing. I mean, he's 41 years of age. It hurts seeing him just not be able to produce at the level that he used to. But this match felt weird. It felt like he really just was not getting himself involved enough, wasn't making the correct runs that he needed to make, and it felt so just deflating. And there's a lot of speculation whether Portugal is better off without starting him and bringing him off the bench. I was wondering how they were going to handle that going into this World Cup. I wonder how they're going to handle it now that they have drew the first game. Ronaldo played the entire game. I wonder if they're going to take the next game, approach it a little bit different. It is against Uzbekistan, which we've seen cannot be messed with. I mean, this is a huge game for Portugal. And as far as Portugal's play, yes, absolutely dominated possession, but there is a big difference between possession, just possession alone, and possession with aggression. To me, Portugal had zero aggression in wanting to create in the final third. And that was so disappointing to me because this is a team that scored in the 6th minute, on a great cross and a great header. And I was thinking when I was seeing that, I was like, okay, Portugal's going to create a lot more chances, even when DR Congo, and give all credit to them. DR Congo
Yes.
played an absolutely amazing game, not taking anything away from them. But when they equalized, I thought Portugal was going to come out in that second half and still be able to create more chances, but they didn't. Ronaldo had, I believe, 3 shots, and I don't think any of them were on, or 2 shots or something like that. I don't even think any of them were on goal. But he didn't get that many. I think he only had 25 touches this whole game. And it was really, really a disappointing thing. I think that this Portugal team is so talented. They have the best midfield in the country. It was just a very disappointing, deflating Portugal performance. A lot of the media want to scrutinize Cristiano Ronaldo for, perhaps playing in this World Cup when he shouldn't, kind of like in a arrogance way. And I don't really look at it as that. I think that, he's making his appearance at a 6th World Cup, which is only 2 players in history have ever done that, and it's him and Lionel Messi. So it's a very unfortunate. It's a very unfortunate thing for Portugal. It's a very unfortunate thing for Ronaldo. The good news is there is much time in this World Cup that everybody knows, and there's time to bounce back, and they're going to need it because this is not an easy Uzbekistan team that they're going to play in round 2. And they got to be ready and got to be firing on all cylinders, whether they will bring Ronaldo on as a sub in game 2 or they will start him again. Regardless, I do believe he needs to get more involved. And obviously, he does not have the skills and the capabilities that he used to, but he definitely still has that IQ and still has that it factor about him. People are still a little bit intimidated when you got Cristiano Ronaldo dribbling the ball at you. So it's going to be interesting to see how Portugal plays the rest of this out.
You were right on the money. 3 attempts on goal, 0 of them on target for Ronaldo. I do appreciate what Thierry Henry said on Fox after the matchup, and specifically clarifying that Ronaldo doesn't need to score. This Portugal team needs to score. And talking about yes, you're right about the notion of whenever a player sees Ronaldo in front of them or on the other side of the pitch, there's that intimidation factor. I get that. Congo DR did not look intimidated at all by Ronaldo. There was not like any sort of intimidation by him on that regard. And we mentioned how Uzbekistan is not going to be a team to be messed with. It's a problem when your only attempt on target for the goal was your goal by Neves. Like when you generate only 7 attempts on goal, and again, you controlled the ball 3/4 of the entire match, and you're not able to generate more than 1 shot on target. And again, Congo DR basically with all 4 shots that it was basically a 4-to-1 ratio of 4 attempts. 1 of them was on target. But when you get a goal 50% of the time and you're on target shots, that's pretty damn good. And that's the problem that Portugal faced here. And look, it's again, Congo DR, give them all the credit in the world. I mean, now between them and Cape Verde, there's 2 nations from Africa that made huge results against 2 of the World Cup favorites in terms of a tie with Spain and a tie with Portugal now. I mean, look, I mean, I don't know how much more I could say about it other than I get it. It's not just Ronaldo, but the fact that he was not able to make as big of an impact on the matchup as everyone is expecting him to have. I mean, not only that, like Bruno Fernandes, where was he? He's supposed to be that strong midfielder for Portugal. Where in the world was he during these 90-plus stoppage time minutes?
I was literally the next thing out of my mouth was going to be where was he? Because Bruno Fernandes, obviously, Ronaldo is expected to, be the guy up top to score goals. Bruno Fernandes is the most talented player on this Portugal team. He's one of the best midfielders in the nation. And for some reason, they just didn't get him that he wasn't involved as much as he should have been. He didn't, and the announcers for this game hit it on the nail when they were calling it because they were like, Bruno Fernandes is Portugal's best creator and best, player, most talented player on this team. Why is he not getting the ball more? I feel like, and they even said in the next games coming up, I feel like the game plan is going to shift more towards getting Bruno Fernandes the ball earlier and, having him create because that is what they lacked today was not creating enough chances.
Credit to at least the goaltending side. I mean, even with the minimal amount of chances. I mean, Costa, he defended as best as he could. I mean, it's great for the goaltenders when you in total between the two of them, there are only 3 shots on target, so they didn't really have to do that much in the whole of this. But at the end of the day, this is absolutely disappointing for Portugal, and I I hesitate to say it's disappointing for Congo because, yeah, I mean, you got a tie and you still made a good result, but it's still one of those you could have tried to generate more chances because, as I mentioned with the other group stage games in particular, I believe I mentioned this with Saudi Arabia, and that if you're only possessing the ball 25% of the time, you're not going to win the World Cup. You're not even going to get out of the group stage in that matter because I think especially now with how dangerous Uzbekistan is, Portugal and Colombia are now going to bounce back with huge vengeances, or at least more so Portugal. But Colombia now knows with seeing this result and having theirs, they're like, hey, we control our destiny for the number 1 spot in the group. Like, we don't have to have anything to worry about going forward. But I I hope the people who were in attendance at Houston enjoyed seeing Ronaldo probably for the last one of the last times in his international career because I just it's weird. I get why he's the captain, but he didn't really show a captain performance today.
Absolutely not. And it's very unfair for I've always believed that recency bias is strong. And a lot of these people in the media kind of criticizing Ronaldo, especially he was put in a very tough spot after the previous day of Mbappe, Erling Haaland, and Lionel Messi all having, amazing games. And everybody's like, all right, CR7, it's your turn. You know, Ronaldo is just not the player that he used to be. He's not the danger, the threat that he used to be. And a lot of people saw the game and saw that he just was kind of just like he kind of was just doing cardio for 90 minutes up there up top. I mean, like to keep it honest, he was just kind of like a decoy up there and not really doing all, and that hurts me so much because he's the reason I got into soccer, and it hurts seeing your legends of the game start to decay in talent a little bit.
Well, hopefully it's just a temporary phase on game 1, at least for everyone in Portugal's sake and all the Ronaldo fans' sake.
Sure.
But they, at least seeing with how this game was between Colombia and Uzbekistan, Portugal will collide with Uzbekistan in Houston on the 23rd. That same day, Congo DR and Colombia will face off in Guadalajara to conclude and once again, it'll conclude the second day or second game of group play once we get to that, and that'll be 6 days from when we're recording this. When it publishes, it'll technically be 5 days. All right, time to get into our predictions side. And Drew, do we have a total from all of our predictions right now? Does it need to be retallied, or what do we got right now?
We do. So I will say that me and you both went perfect on yesterday's results. And by yesterday, I mean the France-Senegal game we had correct. We had the Iraq-Norway game correct, Argentina-Algeria correct, and Austria-Jordan correct. That being said, today we really struggled. Both of us really struggled. We both predicted a Portugal win, which we did not get, unfortunately. England, Croatia, we both had England winning, I believe. So we both got that game right. Ghana, Panama. We were both wrong. You had a Panama win. I had a draw. It ended up being a Ghana win, and then
You're like 2
Colombia.
minutes away from it being a draw too.
I know, I know. I was so mad, but because I'm competitive about this stuff.
Yes.
And then we had Colombia and Uzbekistan. We had that game correct. So we're sitting right now at 9 wins or 9 correct picks and 5 incorrect picks.
Oh, so we're still tied.
We're still tied. Yes.
I mean,
And that's
better
why
than 3 and 3 that we were at, but
if I would have got that draw, then I would have been a point above you. But we have a long tournament, so
yes.
it's
Yes, we have a long one ahead, but let's get right into it. Group A gets resumed on its group fair action. We got Czechia and South Africa colliding in Atlanta. Drew, for Czech Republic, they're trying to bounce back after a 1-2 loss to Korea. And as for the Republic of South Africa, one of those matches that when you're facing off against a home nation in their home stadium, in essence, you're bound to have some sort of loss, and that's what happened there. Where they lost 2-0 to Mexico. I This is one of those matches where it's kind of hard to gauge because Mexico South Korea is going to be for the group, especially with these two facing
can't
off
wait for that
today.
game too.
We'll get into that on the prediction side of things, but I don't know if either South Africa or Czechia are going to make it to the round of 32. But it'll depend on the score. I think between these two teams, especially with seeing the way they played and how it was, at least the fact that Czech Republic was able to get a goal on South Korea, which is hard enough to do in itself. I think for the majority of the match, this is a draw. I think it goes between 1-1, goes back, but I will say in dramatic fashion, probably in stoppage time or close to the end, I think the Czech Republic takes this 2-1.
Believe it or not, I think the same as far as who I believe is going to win the game. I think Czech Republic will win this game. I think they actually played decent against South Korea. That game was very even for a lot of the match. I know South Korea obviously ended up winning that game 2-1, but they played that game pretty close. And I do believe South Africa, and I have believed it since the tournament started, is the weakest team in Group A. I think Czech Republic has got a little bit of motivation after the way they lost in that South Korea match. I actually don't think, though, it will be as high scoring. I think they'll have a lot of chances, but I actually have just a 1-0 finish in this one, Czech Republic getting that one goal. I feel like they're going to have a lot of chances to create more, but I feel like they're only going to find the back of the net one time. I have a 1-0 win.
I almost went with that or thought about it being like a 0-0 draw just because of only one goal scored between these two teams in their opening matches and both of them being conceding combined 4 goals in their opening frames. But I try to give them some credit, try to give them both to have some sort of goals on that. But who knows? Might be 2-1 or 1-2. We'll keep it in Group A. Mexico and Korea Republic. Oh, man, the fact that this is on Fox and it's in the evening from Guadalajara Stadium, it's going to be amazing to watch. We'll probably need to get ETN back on the show for this one. But Mexico, Korea Republic, we mentioned how it was a shutout. I think it's also amazing, similar to what the United States has been doing with bouncing between its venues, and same with Canada, where they're in Toronto and their next match is going to be in Vancouver, and we'll talk about that one in a second. Man, this is, especially with both these teams essentially having shutouts, South Korea conceding the 1 goal to Czechia. I think I so want to take a draw on this, but I feel like that's one of the only ways that this could justly end. But I like this South Korea team. Even though they had an easy qualifying route going in, I think they are the first team to actually deal a loss to one of the home nations. And I think it's going to be very, very close. I think it ends up being that Korea Republic just manages to score a goal in very late extra time, similar to what we saw from Ghana earlier today. And I think this ends, I'll say 3-2. I think it's a high-scoring affair between not that these backlines are bad, but that it's just going to be so difficult to defend the forwards on both sides of the pitch. So I got 3-2 Korea Republic.
Well, I'm gonna be boring. I actually have this game. These are easily the two most talented teams in this group, and I've been looking forward to this matchup ever since I saw the schedule because these are two really. It's really interesting dynamic because obviously they're two great teams, but Mexico being the host nation, playing a game in the evening in Guadalajara, it's going to be electric in that stadium. I cannot wait for this game. I actually am gonna be boring. I'm gonna say that it ends as a draw. I'm gonna say I had the prediction of 2-2, and I agree with you. I think it will be a little bit of a high scoring match. I do think that both of these teams have talent up top, and not disrespecting any of their defenses, but I think this will be a thriller. I think this match, will be about as dead even as you can have it, and I think it's gonna go 2-2.
Yeah, and like I said, I would not be surprised if this does go to a tie. It's like again, we've been seeing this a lot with the top tier matches that have been through the two teams that are favorable to win their respective groups, that it's gone to a tie. But I just think that that's like I said, extra time. It's going to be one of those very late goals, very dramatic finish for South Korea to pull off the upset and to silence Guadalajara. Because you're right, this stadium is going to be absolutely phenomenal. I mean, we saw it in Mexico City on their opening matchup against South Africa. I mean, the moment they scored their first goal, the place was erupting. Everyone was just so elated and overjoyed that it played out the way that it did. But I like a flair for the dramatic at times, and I think I think that Mexico will get dealt their first loss of the tournament, and it'll be on home soil. But we'll see how it goes. But Group B, we continue along. Second match of the day, and the second match of Group B for both the respective teams is Switzerland and Bosnia and Herzegovina. And look, it's Bosnia, especially with them having 1 point here. This Group B is wide open, all of the respective teams. It was a 1-1 score for both of these Group B team matches. I mean, it's wide open. So certainly, and we're going to talk about Canada, Qatar on the other side, but I'm telling you, from what I saw from Switzerland, Qatar in person in Levi's, the Swiss fan base not only travels, there are a lot of people who are supporting Switzerland. I think that'll be the same for Los Angeles. I think the magic, in a way, for Bosnia ends. I think they lose 2-0, and Switzerland starts to try and take a stranglehold on this Group B, in terms of the goal differential. So I got Switzerland winning this in Los Angeles.
Yeah, I agree. I think both of the opening matchups in this group, I think, woke this Canada team and the Switzerland team up a little bit. I think that the Swiss bounce back. Nobody was happy with their draw with Qatar. I think they all expected a little bit better of a result than that. And everybody knows, in my opinion, they're still the most talented team in this group, and I think they will get a pretty comfortable win. I think Bosnia may give them a goal. I actually have this game going 3-1 Switzerland. And I think that they'll bounce back, get a strong 3 points, and I think they'll look to take control, like you said, take control of the group.
And not only that, they're going to clean up the mistake of conceding an own goal. Like that is not going to happen against Bosnia Herzegovina. Like it just absolutely not going to happen.
Sure.
Canada, Qatar, they head to BC Place in Vancouver. So the host nation, as we mentioned with Mexico, Canada will head to the other side of the country and give their respective home citizens a chance to cheer them on in their home side. Qatar has not scored a single goal in this tournament, despite having a 1-1 draw to get 1 point against the Swiss over in the San Francisco Bay Area. I just don't think that Qatar as a national team really has it figured out yet. I think that Canada doesn't even really have it figured out that way either. But I mean, they, in this being their third World Cup appearance, I think Canada starts to break the ceiling a little bit. I think Kyle Larin manages to get another goal on that. I think this is the game that Alphonso Davies really steps up and actually makes a difference here over in Vancouver. I'm going to say this is another one of those one-sided competitions as well, and I think Canada takes it. I'll say 3-0. I think they get it done against Qatar, and again with both Switzerland and Canada, I think they both get the points, and it sets up for a tremendous showdown for who's going to take Group B when they finally face off it to conclude Group B play.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think, like I said about Switzerland, I think they got woke up after that first game. I believe Canada was the same, especially considering they are one of the host nations. There's that added pressure of performing in front of your home crowd that, they probably feel. And, nobody really expected them to draw that Bosnia game. Give credit to Bosnia and Qatar for their results in the first game. But I think that woke the two best teams in this group up a little bit. And I think Canada will look to take control against Qatar. And I also believe it will be a win and not that much of a dominant. I have them winning 2-0. They could easily score a third. Like I have no, I could easily see it going 3-0. But I'm going to say as my official prediction, I'm going to have 2-0 Canada.
I will say though, We'll get to it when we get later down the line and such. I know what you guys are thinking of, like, oh, you're picking that Mexico is going to get upset. Can't Qatar do it? I think they could. I mean, it's a very slim possibility that they could if things go their way. Because I mean, Qatar was not supposed to tie with Switzerland in the grand scheme of things. The Swiss are one own goal away from taking a stranglehold on Group B in the grand scheme of things because of the matches they have down the stretch. But I don't think Canada loses on their home soil quite yet. I think depending on how Switzerland comes out and what the final result is against Bosnia and Herzegovina, I think that has a good determinant. But make no mistake, the battle of the nations that both have red as the primary color on their flags, that is going to be prime television to watch when it comes down to it.
Absolutely. That's going to be a thriller. If the games go as we expect them to go tomorrow, that match in round 3 of the group stage will be one of the matches of the tournament so far.
Not only that, I notice how FIFA scheduled this with the World Cup. So there you have 4 matches per day in the second game of group play. From June 24th forward, you've got 6 matches occurring in one day up until the round of 32. So you think about it, including those, you've got Switzerland, Canada face off in Vancouver on that 24th day. You got Scotland, Brazil, Morocco, Haiti, Bosnia and Herzegovina versus Qatar, Czechia, Mexico, and then South Africa, Korea Republic as those 6 matches on the day. Now, arguably, I would say on that day, Switzerland, Canada is probably going to be the top tier match that everyone needs to focus on. But depending on how the second set of games go, Scotland, Brazil, and Miami might actually be the other blockbuster matchup that happens in concluding this group play. But it's one of those where you wait until the second game of the group stage. Everybody has gone through it before you make these determinations. But I tell you, it's setting up for at least 2 star-studded matchups on that beginning of the end of the group stage.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, and I love the way FIFA scheduled it too, because they know what their fans want and they know what their viewers want. And this is going to be an unbelievable, and this is why I love that we're at the point where we are now with, round 2 of the group stage, because this is really when it starts to matter in terms of goal difference and standings and all that. Like, we're going to have some really good games coming up, and I cannot wait to watch, react, and then talk about it on this podcast.
And a full disclosure, neither Drew or I are getting sick of watching soccer every day. I know there's some people who might see it going continuously on, like the amount of back and forth we're having with each other on like particular matches and results. Like I know he got busy with other stuff today, but after the Portugal match, all I texted in caps was the Congo, and it was just still that was the shocker of the day by far, but it was still it's just a preview of what's to come in the rest of this group stage match stuff, and we're all for it here on the
Absolutely.
NSMA 2026 FIFA World Cup podcast. Well, we appreciate Connie joining us for the Colombia portion of the match, and appreciate those of you who are listening and watching. Make sure you check out the link in the description for donations towards the podcast to support us, but also to get some cool behind-the-scenes benefits and to support my journey throughout the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Be sure to follow along on our Instagram page and continue to give us your feedback, whether it's positive or negative, whether you completely vehemently disagree with our takes or you think what we said actually had something good to do. Hope you'll join us for all that stuff as well. Any final thoughts before we get into the second game of group play for these respective nations, Drew?
No, it's just this is, I don't want to say crunch time because, it's a little premature to say that, but this is the time where, the groups really start to feel it, and the jitterness and the what's the word? I guess the jitterness and
Butterflies?
yeah, the butterflies, there you go, are gone. They have a game under everybody has a game under their belt now. Now is the time where we're gonna see, the best teams soar and the weaker teams fall. So can't wait.
Yeah, and I can't wait for us to preview Friday's matches too, because we got a lot of good
Oh
ones
yeah.
that are involved with that. So we'll get to all that stuff tomorrow. That wraps up this episode of the 2026 NSMA FIFA World Cup podcast. For Drew Williamson, all the hardworking men and women that make this run so smoothly, I'm Spencer Townsend saying so long from various parts of North America. We'll be back tomorrow to recap the action from the day and to preview the next day as we continue in the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Hey there, thank you so much for listening or watching the NSMA 2026 FIFA World Cup podcast. A special thank you to our Platinum Insiders, the Banzet family, Robert Eggleston and Jason Edmonds, for their support of the podcast. If you'd like to support the podcast and my journey to the 2026 FIFA World Cup, the link is in the description. Not only are all donations potentially tax deductible, as the NSMA is a 501c3 nonprofit, but you also can get your name here on this graphic in the description, and you could get some exclusive behind-the-scenes content. Appreciate those of you who have donated so far, those who are going to donate, and hope you enjoy the rest of the podcast during the 2026 FIFA World Cup.